Hi, this is Coach Insiya. I am a GLP-1 strategist and mindset coach, and I help women lose more weight on their GLP-1 medication by doing it strategically. Something people ask me often is, when should I dose up? That is such a complicated question, but it is the most important one when we're on our GLP-1 journey. You want to take into consideration so many different things before you make that decision. The only schedule that you want to pay attention to is your own. It's important that you're listening to your body. You're trying to understand on a bigger scale what exactly your body needs to help you lose weight. Maybe it's the next dose, but it's hard to know that for a fact, right? And that's why so many of you ask me this question. You really need to consider, how long have you already been on the dose? What is your overall goals here? Are you looking to lose closer to 20% of your weight, which is more reasonable to do without having to extend out your doses? Or do you have a much bigger number to aim for? When that's the case, you got to be a lot more strategic, right? You can't just go ahead and dose up every month. You need to challenge yourself just a little bit. There's a fine line between challenging yourself and torturing yourself. You don't need to push yourself to the limit in a way that you are returning to your baseline before these medications just to prove a point. No, please don't do anything like that. But you know yourself best. If you're the type of person that does need a little extra motivation to go a little bit harder, and if you're the type of person that goes way too hard every single time, above and beyond what anybody needed them to do. First, decide that and get honest. Have you done everything you needed to before you're ready to move up? Have you made the changes that you know will impact your weight? Or if you don't know, are you struggling to figure out what to do? Because there's ways to solve all these things, right? Either you get more creative and try new strategies you haven't tried yet, or you search for those answers. They exist. It's just a matter of how you want to get them. You can ask Google, how do I make sure I've done everything I needed to in order to know that I've maximized everything on this dose? All kinds of people have different ideas and things you can do, but you also know the basics, right? How are you eating? And are you moving? It doesn't need to be more complicated than that. Start there, be honest with yourself, and figure out what the answer to those questions are. And if you have the answer to the questions, then take it to the next level, get deeper. Really take a moment to assess what you've been doing so you can decide if you're ready to move up. The people that do the best on this journey are the ones that take some time to evaluate what they're doing. And you can do that. It's really just a step that isn't being explained, but it should be. Do you have somewhere that you're keeping track of your information? I'm not really talking about social media. Okay, fine. If you're blogging or whatever, that's fine. But I'm talking about, do you have a notebook somewhere? A Word doc? Do you have scrap paper somewhere? Is there somewhere that you're putting in some information about what in the world you're doing? And really, you do not need to be logging every single calorie you're eating. I mean, you could do you. I'm not going to stop you from doing that, but that is not the solution, at least not for most of us. Get really curious and try to figure out, like, have you done all the things that you need to feel comfortable moving up to the next dose? Then you can make that decision and feel good about it. People don't take the time to really question themselves a little bit, really get curious about what they've been doing. What they do take the time is to look through, what does the scale say? And that's just really not a good measure, right? That's the result. But what actions have you been putting in to get that result? What you need to really do is to figure out, what have you been doing to get whatever the results are? And is there anything better you can do to improve those results? And if your answer is, I've already done what I'm able to do, I've done my best, and I'm ready to move up, awesome. Now you know the answer to that. This does not mean it's going to be your experience. We are so different, but I'll explain to you my thought process when I go about dosing up. My first month is usually filled with side effects. I tend to experience a lot of different side effects, including nausea and strong appetite suppression. I'm not doing anything for month 2 because I'm just getting through month 1. Month 2, I'm usually just getting used to this new dose. I know I'm doing pretty good. I don't need to make any changes yet. What I've learned about myself in month 3 is when I'm able to start incorporating my good habits. I have my keystone habits that no matter what, I must maintain, right? And then we have the skill building, the habit building. That tends to happen a lot more in month 2 and 3 for me. I've gotten comfortable, the food noise has eased up, I'm able to do more during this time. I take advantage of it. I go through and make sure, what can I get better at to help myself in the long run? This is a lifetime of a journey, right? There's not one quick fix that's going to solve everything. I'm going to need to keep doing different things to get that improvement that I'm looking for. So that's going to be what I'm doing during the best time period for me. Month 4 for me is when I'm testing myself on this skill that I've been practicing. My weight loss may decrease or kind of pause, and I might need to challenge myself to be diligent with my habits and what I'm putting into this journey. Month 4 is like my prove it to myself that I'm doing the work as well. I'm not just relying on the dose. Usually month 3 and 4, there is a range that I found myself in. Hunger returns. I love it when my hunger returns personally. I like knowing what my body needs. I might just be crazy, but that's me. And I decide to make changes to what I'm doing. I'll be changing what I'm eating to support myself in month 4. It's something drastic. I want to be mindful. I don't want to go crazy with my calories. My goal is to honor my hunger when I have it. One thing I found really easy to do is add more protein into my portions during month 4. I also add a lot more veggies. I'll add more protein or veggies. I don't have as much carbs in month 1 because I might not have enough appetite and I want to prioritize the nutrition that matters. So month 4, I'll typically incorporate some lower carb options. I made sure to work with my personal registered dietitian. Her and I have come up with a plan for me, what I should stick to, what my goals are, and I make sure to take care of that. There's a range I'm able to get into. There's eating too little and eating too much, and my goal is to stay in there. I've never succeeded with strict goals. Give me a strict goal and I'm gonna rebel. This has worked really well for me to come up with a system that I'm just keeping kind of an eye on myself, nothing too rigid, and that has led to my success. That has allowed me to do 4 months on each dose. By the end of my 4th month, it's getting too hard, right? These are things that you need to learn about yourself to make these decisions. There's nobody out there that's going to give you that information. You are the only one who's going to have the answers to this. But you just need to know what answers to look for. That's the hard part, but that's the truth. You're the one with the answers, but you need to put it together. If you are already questioning yourself and getting curious about these things, but you're still not able to pinpoint what's going on, the stall strategy is for you. It will list 9 different factors that go into our weight loss. There's the obvious couple, but then there's the ones that are such a subtle shift that you can make. Honestly, people think that that's not going to make enough of a difference. There are 9 things, but it's not going to make enough difference. Here's where the magic happens. You don't need to make one big, massive change. You need to make small, subtle, strategic changes that build over time for your success. That's the difference. When you train, you build up. You don't just run a marathon. You have to train towards some of these things. Same with your health. If you didn't already come into this journey with all the tools, you have some learning to do. I know I did. Even though I did all the programs, I still had a lot to learn as the adult that I was in and the life I was in. So that's what I would challenge you to do. Get curious about yourself. Stop worrying about when do I dose up and start questioning, how am I doing? What have I been doing? Yes, the scale says this, but why does it say that? The more curious you get, the more answers you're going to get. It's going to be amazing. Seriously. So that would be number 1 thing I'd recommend. If you're wondering, when do I dose up? If you're having a hard time figuring that out, there are a lot of questions you can ask yourself to come to those answers.